Hi, this is Joe Kehrig with the Kehrig Real Estate Team, and this is your San Ramon Valley Real Estate Update for the week of March 1st. So, we're going to dive right into the graphs this week, but we're going to talk afterwards a little bit about. I get questions all the time, Joe, how long can this keep going like it is? I mean, there are literally sales that we can track and looking at the same model 3 months ago sold for 300,000 less than recently. So, I mean, literally, we're getting 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 40 offers plus on properties. And we have properties that are selling for $300,000 more 3 months ago. So, literally, we saw $100,000 a month appreciation, which is nuts. I've never seen anything like this in 43 years. And I do think that obviously there's a little daylight, coming up, but I will tell you, long term, we're also going to talk about after we look at the graphs why I don't see this changing anytime soon, maybe just softening a little bit. Let's look at San Ramon. We were a little hopeful last week in San Ramon where we saw pending sales stay pretty much the same, but active properties jump up. Well, it was just the reverse. If you remember the last couple of weeks in Danville, the pending sales jumped way up, and then the active properties went down. And whenever you see that there's a lot more pendings than actives, everything's about supply and demand. That is basically a seller's market. Matter of fact, when they talk about absorption rate, less than 5 months, they consider it a seller's market. We are in like weeks. Like if things quit coming on the market, I mean, you can see there's 44 homes on the market. And basically, they went from 88 to 99, which is 11, and 15 closings, which is basically 26. So that literally means that we have maybe 2 weeks supply on the market, and 5 months or less is a seller's market. So this is an extremely seller's market, hence why homes are selling for well over asking, because they're getting multiple offers. So San Ramon, hopefully we see that turn a little bit, because it's not a good sign to see pendings go up and actives go down. At least, obviously, if you're a buyer. If you're a seller, that might look good. Danville property settled down a little bit. Pendings have been jumping up and actives have been going down. Well, the last couple of weeks it stayed pretty steady, which is okay. It's okay to see a lot of pending properties, as long as active properties keep up. Even though when you look at these graphs, it's an extremely seller's market, as you can see. I mean, 118 pendings and only 45 homes on the market. It's literally nuts. So last week we had 20 closings and 2 additional sales. That means 22 properties went pending. Again, a 2-week supply of homes in Danville. Blackhawk, it was great. A couple of weeks ago we saw, because we were down to like 4 homes for sale on Blackhawk, average price of 4.7 million. So we saw it jump up a few weeks ago where it went up to 13 active properties, but then immediately the week after it almost dropped in half from 13 to 8, because there was so much demand and because there was no inventory, that the minute some inventory came on. So the good part is we saw, obviously, pending stay about the same, drop just a little bit, but we saw the active properties go up a little bit. So that's a good trend. Hopefully that stays where it is. Alamo market has stayed pretty steady. You see, a couple of weeks ago it was really scary because pending properties jumped way up, active properties went down. But now you say the pendings have stayed pretty consistent, actives have stayed pretty consistent. I mean, obviously that's still a seller's market, but if we see any more where pendings are going up and listings are going down, I don't know how it can get a whole lot worse than it is now if you're a buyer and you're competing with 5, 10, 15, 20, offers on a piece of property, and they're literally going for hundreds of thousands of dollars, more. Dublin, Dublin's okay. We saw the active properties go up just a little bit and pending properties go down a little bit. Dublin, because the average price rent is around $1 million, has been one of the most active markets out there. Again, when you look at the stats, the sold price to list price percentage, the amazing part about that is as prices go up, you look at San Ramon, that's been averaging 110%. So that means that, if the average price was $1 million, the average sales price was 100,000 over. So now what's happening is when it goes another week and then another week, that's telling you now the average prices are 101 and they're selling for 102. So when we talk about, the prices going up literally hundreds of thousands of dollars the last 3 months, that's why this is. Because if you have a home that's $1 million and it gets bid up to 1,100,000, now the next ones are going to come up to 1,100,000. Well, if that gets bid up to 1,200,000, and that's what we're seeing. Now, when does this kind of, bear down a little bit? Well, let's talk about that. Obviously, the one thing of professionally selling real estate for 43 years and selling over $2 billion of real estate, I can tell you one thing absolutely for sure. As we get into the end of spring, towards the beginning of summer, we'll have more inventory come on the market. But that will be a good thing, because even if the demand doesn't go down, it's not going to be more inventory alone, because there's so much demand out there. The minute it comes on the market, it's going to basically get absorbed. So to see this market settle down significantly at all, we have to not only see, more inventory come on the market, but we need to see less demand, because there's a lot of homes coming on the market. We will set records that we haven't had in decades of how many homes sell this year. So there are homes coming on the market, but again, the demand is so strong. So what's going to back off demand? Well, I've talked about it before. In the short term, what might settle things down a little bit, and I do anticipate the appreciation. I mean, it can't keep going $100,000 a month. Slowing down a little bit, because we will get more inventory on the market. And even if all we do is get more inventory and the demand stays high, well, if you have 10 offers on a piece of property for $1 million, it's probably going to sell. Usually we figure about 1% for every offer over one. So it's going to sell for about $1,100,000. Well, if you only get 5 offers, let's say more inventory comes on the market and it splits the buyers a little bit, and you only have 5 offers instead of 10, well, now that property is going to sell for $1,050,000. So the next one's going to list for $1,050,000. So you can see how the appreciation can slow down, though it can still stay a seller's market, which we anticipate. What can slow down demand? Obviously, the higher interest rates, if they peak up a little bit. Because again, when you got interest rates sub 3 and they go up 0.5%, that's almost a 20% increase, which can literally knock down, buyers' buying power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's basically what drove this market up in 2020, because interest rates kept going down, so people could pay more and their payments would basically be the same. Now we're seeing interest rates have stabilized, but prices are still going up. So at some point, it's like a rubber band. It's going to stretch and it has to break. But again, so what can slow demand down a little bit? Well, higher interest rates. If the COVID vaccine, it looks like it's working, it looks like the curve has been flattened a little bit, we're getting back to normal. If the economy gets back to normal somewhat, let's face it, we have kind of the new normal, working from home, Zoom, videos. I started these videos a year ago because of COVID. And now that things have opened up a little bit, we're still doing videos. People are still going to be working at home. So we kind of have a new normal, but at least if things get back to normal a little bit and the economy picks up, we're probably going to see, number one, is interest rates go up a little bit, which will back off the demand. And then maybe not as many people flooding out of the cities, as some people do go back to work, looking to the suburbs, to come out, which obviously San Ramon Valley is a huge, suburbia. So the demand might back off a little bit, but I got to tell you, I still anticipate being a seller's market, for a long time to come. So why? Even though you say, okay, Joe, what if more homes come on the market, interest rates go up a little bit? Well, there's a couple reasons why, I think that we're in the seller's market for, long term. And I'm bullish on the real estate market, even though there's no doubt we'll have a little bit of a correction, but it's not going to be much, because here's the thing is, low interest rates. I mean, the head of the Federal Reserve, which they never come out and forecast years ahead, basically anticipate low interest rates all the way through 2023. Now, number one is, you might sit there and go, they might go up 0.5%, but God, they're still like 3.25%. Where not too many, years ago, they were 5-6%. First home I bought, my wife and myself bought in 1982 was 18% interest rate. So again, they'll go up a little bit, they'll peak up, go up a little bit, but I still, when you look at all the experts, and I've shown the graphs in weeks before, we still anticipate them being in the three, i.e., low interest rates. The other thing is, people buy low with the interest rates low. So if you went out and bought a home for 2.75, and let's say interest rates did bump up to 4%, which knocked off the demand a little bit, you as a seller, are you going to basically sell that home and that loan you have at 2.75 and go get a 4% interest? So even though the demand might back down, the supply is going to back down because people don't want to give up, these low interest rates. So it's kind of like buy low and sell never, buy low interest rates and then sell never. So we're not going to see that inventory come up as much. So we see the interest rates, basically staying low, which will keep the demand. The buy low, sell never. Underbuilding. It is so difficult to build, especially in California, that it's we don't have the new supply. We're so short on homes, but we don't have the new supply, coming on the market. And the other thing is, look at the millennials. The millennials are just starting to get into their buying power. So they anticipate the millennials are really going to be buying. Remember, there's more millennials than there are baby boomers. And the millennials are going to sit there and be buying, they say, for the next 10 years. So you have low interest rates, which will, keep the demand up. The buy low, sell never, which means there's not going to be near as much inventory. The underbuilding, not in a lot of inventory. And the millennials really get into the real estate market, which means that there's still going to be a lot of demand here. Here's something else that a lot of people don't think about, and that's, government policies. Because after 2006, 7, and 8, the government has stepped in, like with the Kehrig Act, and basically said, hey, we don't want anybody foreclosed upon. And so we're going to help them out. We have, foreclosure where you basically can't foreclose on someone. There's potential forgiveness. There's forbearance programs going on. The government's doing everything they can to keep people in their homes and not have their home foreclosed upon, which I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but here's the bottom line is usually in a normal real estate market, people do get foreclosed upon. They can't afford their home, and if they can't make their payments, they have to sell. And there's a lot of that inventory coming on the market, through foreclosures or short sales or bank-owned properties that now isn't coming on the market. So when you have all of those things that you look at, low interest rate obviously is going to keep the demand high. Buy, sell never is going to hurt the supply of the home. You basically have underbuilding, which hurts the supply of home. The millennials are going to be buying the next 10 years. So the demand is still going to be there. And the policy, the CARES Act, is going to, again, keep more inventory coming on the market. So when you look at all of that, we're into what we're into. Not that it's not going to go up and down a little bit, but for the most part, anticipate real estate is still the best investment out there. The stock market, obviously on a whim, we've seen it basically going down a lot, recently. But real estate is a real asset, where the stock market just basically on a whim of someone saying, hey, I don't believe in this stock anymore, the stock can tank or whatever. But here's the other thing with real estate. With the way they're printing money, and when you have, the bailout programs and the trillions, and I'm not making a judgment whether it's wrong or right, but here's just pure economics. Pure economics is the fact that that's when inflation happens. We haven't even seen inflation right now. Look at what happened with real estate prices. Can you imagine when we start to see inflation and the dollar basically is worthless? Well, what's the best hedge against inflation? It's real estate, because as inflation takes off, real estate goes up. So I think we're going to have, I'm really bullish on the real estate market. It's kind of sad because we also work with buyers, and it's tough to be a buyer right now. Hopefully during the summer, with a little less demand, a little bit more inventory, it evens out a little bit, where at least, maybe you might have 2 to 3 offers on every property instead of, 10 offers. So we'll see what happens. Keep up with me every week. If you like these videos, please tap the like button and hit the subscribe button. And if you click on the bell, you'll receive alerts as new videos, come on. Thanks a lot for spending another week with me. Stay safe, stay healthy. It looks like we might be getting on the other side of the curve on this coronavirus. So be smart, and may God bless you. May God bless your family, and may God bless the United States of America. We'll see you next week.